What's going on?
Well, you tell us, what's the mood?
Honestly, I felt that was a tough loss. Anytime you lose, it's tough, but I felt like we had a really good team meeting yesterday. I felt like it was real, and I felt like it was everyone kind of understanding that what we're doing right now isn't good enough. It's not to our standard. It's not from every single person in there. So I feel like that was real, and I think we needed that a little bit.
I mean, that sounds like real accountability. When you want to bring it up with us and you're talking about it, it sounds like something where you guys had to really assess some things. What else can you
Yeah,
say
who
about it?
talked?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of Flus kind of right. He leads the team meetings and things like that, but I just felt like we weren't sugarcoating anything. We weren't. And again, stuff that kind of was said, whatever. I'll keep in house, but I also think that it was just very genuine and real, and is a understanding that from coaches to players, we all need to be better. And I think when every single one of us can kind of look within ourselves first and understand that, but also get the feeling that it's not like everyone's thinking it's this guy or that guy. It's all of us being in this together and trying to get this fixed, and that's gonna start with tomorrow's practice.
How much has the tone changed from just a couple of weeks ago to what you're hearing now?
I don't know if it's I feel like in this league, the really good teams take accountability, and not just players, but coaches as well. And I feel like we have a team that does that. But again, I feel like there's one thing to say how good we can be and all those things, but it's another thing to go do it on Sunday, and we haven't done it these past 2 weeks. So I do think we're at the point right now where I think it's less about talking, it's more about what we do on Sunday, because right now we're 4-4, and that's what we've shown. No matter who's on our roster and the talent that we have and what it could be, that's what it is right now.
Well, to me, the secret is in translating one to the other. And obviously we know words are just that. And I've no doubt you had a great meeting, and people can be inspired by that and take that out to practice and practice harder. But it has to be paired up with correct deployment and correct strategy and correct communication. How do you ensure that all of these best intentions manifest themselves in better football?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of the big thing, right? I think, intentions and those things, in this business, like, they obviously matter internally and things like that, but what matters is the results we get. Unfortunately, that's the business that we're in. We're a results-based league. And so I think really that comes down to our leadership and guys who, are in those roles, who played a lot of ball for a long time, and kind of understand what it's supposed to look like. It's voicing that throughout the week of maybe what would work, and what kind of what the coaches think from this, and then like what the players think, doing these certain things, and how can we meet in the middle with that. And I think our coaching staff does a great job of listening. I think it's more on us as players too, of voicing that to them as well.
When you talk about that, are you talking about what you guys need? Like, is there something you need to raise the standard or to get to the standard that you've established? And also, like, as somebody observing, if you were to tell me I'm watching the game and I know what I saw, and I know that you guys were better than what you showed on Sunday. So what is the standard? And what did you say about what you guys maybe
Yeah, I
need
mean,
or what you want to do?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think from defensively, I can only really speak defensively and things like that, but we pride ourselves on, it's the first thing we talk about every single week, is stopping the run, and felt like it's really gotten away from us this year, and we know that. It's something that, especially as a linebacker, we take to heart, and it's something we got to get fixed, because it's also a league to where if you show that you can't stop something, you're going to see it over and over again until you do. So we know that that's something that needs to get fixed, and I do think that'll help our pass rush and our things on third down to get them off the field. But if teams are living in 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1, it's hard. It's a long day for sure. So I think it starts with that, and I think it's kind of pairing it up with what I was talking about earlier with, kind of talking to the coaches about what we're seeing and, maybe some things that we could do. But again, we've made adjustments all year, mid game, and honestly it came down to this last one where we were getting out executed, kind of plain and simple as that. And once we feel that, we got to do something to change that around. But I really do think, right, coaches are obviously a vital part of this game and things like that. But as players, we got to go out there and make those plays and do those things to win these games.
The glaring play that we're going to keep looking at, a play on which you guys just kind of got blocked and run by, was that DMarcado touchdown that ended up being so important and sort of symbolic of that effort. I've watched it a million times, but I'd love to get your perspective from the play call to what you saw pre-snap to what actually happened to allow that to occur.
Yeah, and I think Lucis said it just in terms of we were expecting them to try to challenge us to throw the ball, and I honestly I understand it. I understand what we were trying to get done, but they kind of checked something, so they saw something and got to a run play, which we figured out later in the game in terms of what they're trying to do to us in those certain looks. But at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think we're in like an ideal call, but there's a lot of times in the NFL to where you might not be in an ideal call for these things. Like, at the end of the day, we got to find a way to tackle him and get him down to where that doesn't go for a touchdown. So, I mean, there's times where things like that are going to happen, but as players, we got to find a way to turn that into not such a huge negative play. And I really do put that on us. I put that. I like to think of myself as a smart player, and we got a ton of smart players around here in our building and our defense, and got to figure out a way to play the game within the game and make a play like that not turn into such a huge negative one.
I think you touch on something when you're talking about a call. We probably, as media, don't talk about how common it is on virtually any play in the NFL and any team where if you're seeing something on the field as a player, you're allowed to have some freedom in that and remix that as you need. How much do you think that factors into this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, right, like they got good players on the other side of the ball too, right? They got smart players, they got smart coaches, just like we do. And they kind of got us in a look that wasn't ideal. And like any loss, you're gonna go back and say, what would you do differently? You're really gonna only focus on the bad. So that's kind of how that goes and how we can improve. But I think just going back, I wish I kind of would have saw a titch faster of what they were trying to check to and get us off the field. Figure something out to where we could talk about it. We ended up putting something in at halftime to kind of adjust that versus what they were checking, and we were able to do a better job with that on certain downs. But right at that point, that's a huge swing in the game. So you got to find a way to do those things earlier on to where we're not putting ourselves in these holes like this.
I'm curious, do you still, because I listen to your intro every week, do you still listen at all to what's being said, I guess, outside of the building, or do people make you aware? I'm just curious as to how you absorb, as a guy who grew up here, everything going on and how it does or does not impact you.
Not really, to be honest with you. Like I said, my dad's been a huge fan of this show for a long time. But since I've been here, he has not listened, and so
he's lying to you. He's not. He's lying to you.
That's just how it goes.
No.
That's just how it goes. Like, listen, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. Now that you're there, it hits a little different. So and he's real protective, so I know he's not gonna jump on here or anything, or you'll have a good caller one of these days. But
he's free to call anytime.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And TJ, the reason I ask, because we have you on every week, we have Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore on every week, and Jalen talked about the fact that he was asked, were you guys pressed not to talk anymore? Were you supposed to keep more inside? He said he didn't feel like he aired out anyone, and no, the coaches didn't say don't talk anymore, because everybody kind of had a message of, we got to keep some things in house. But he said nothing was out there that should have been kept in house in terms of what you guys were all talking about last week. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, right? I think our coaches, they allow us to be, have our own personalities and be who we want to be. That's what makes a team a team. And I don't think anything was out of line or out of place or anything like that. These past couple of weeks, I also just think that you got to recognize the storm that's going to come when you kind of lose two games like that. That's how it goes. But I don't think anyone's trying to make us not say certain things or do certain things at all, right? We're talking football and we're just giving our thoughts and, with always having the team at mind as well, but also understanding that we're going to give our perspective.
And one other question, because Layla and I both used to work in Philadelphia. I know you spent years there. You know what it's like both in Chicago and in Philadelphia. You haven't played in a small market. How would you compare the expectations of the fan bases and the blowback that you get when you are struggling in those cities?
Honestly, it's pretty similar. You know what I'm saying? I think it's two fan bases that are very very passionate about their teams, especially football, right? And I think that's one thing that that's why you want to play in these big time cities for these historical teams. Because it's a lot better going to the game knowing that everyone's into it. Your fans are always going to be there. I mean, even like that, the Arizona game was like, it was insane. The amount of Bears fans that were there, like it was absolutely insane. And that's why you love it. You know what I'm saying? You want people to be bought in just like you are. Because this is why you do it, right? You want to have all eyes on you and go make the play to change the game and things like that. And when it doesn't work out, you gotta be there to take it as well. That's just kind of how it goes.
What are you hearing about Big Bill?
Big Bill's all right. Yeah, he's all right. He's again, he's our anchor too.
I
So,
know.
and that's one tough dude. So he'll be all right, man. He'll be just fine for
Okay,
sure.
I was concerned because this defense without Sweat is certainly different, and obviously, you're kind of these linebackers. I feel a little bit hung out to dry. There's no Sweat, and then behind you, there's no Brisker and no Gordon. There's a lot more falling on you and Tremaine.
Yeah, but that's also I think for us we don't look at it that way. I think unfortunately, that's kind of the way the game goes. You never really know what's going to happen, or sadly, injuries are a part of it and things like that. And but I honestly have thought that the guys who stepped in have done an awesome job. I mean, Reddy for his first game, gets a huge turnover. His first active game, like that's incredible. So we got the guys that will step up and do their job. But also as linebackers, we're in the center of the communication. We got to make sure that the standard is what it is, and we're all on the same page. And so Tremaine and I, we take that to heart for sure.
Do you feel like this is a more pivotal moment? I know the cliches, you take it one game at a time, but you were 4-2. Now you're 4-4, and the division schedule is what lies beyond New England. Does this game feel like it has extra weight on it to you?
I mean, I do. I feel like it's, from here on out, I feel like we need to be playing our best ball, right? And I think especially getting into divisional games and things like that, all these games are important. This game this week is very important, but I also think, as we get, towards like the meat of the season here, we need to be playing our best football. So whatever that looks like, however way we got to get that done, that needs to show up now. You know what I'm saying?
What is the trade deadline day like now in the NFL? And I've talked to baseball players about this. I've talked to
Yeah.
basketball players about this, but it usually isn't a thing in the NFL. And it is kind of now that there are big deals, there are fringy deals, and all of a sudden you show up, one of your teammates is gone, or you got a new teammate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of similar to, cut days sometimes. You just really don't know kind of what's going to happen or things like that. But we have all the trust in the world and what we're doing here, and kind of the thought process and things like that. And our job as players is to show up and get to work and put our best foot forward and be the best football players that we can be. Obviously, it's interesting because you build relationships with these people, with everyone, and anytime something like that happens, it's going to affect you. But also understanding that We still got to show up tomorrow and get our job done. And I'm not gonna lie, we got to go win a football game. Like that's what it is right now.
I feel like I'm anticipating big energy to start the game on Sunday. And I know that sounds kind of silly or cheesy or whatever, but given what we saw last week, I feel like you're at home, sets the stage very well. This meeting also does that, I think, a little bit. What do you anticipate the energy level to be out of this team for Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's one just to be back at home. There's a level of comfort with that. It's exciting. I just think, especially once it gets starting to get a little colder and things like that. That's one thing I've always loved about being in the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? Those type of games. And but I also just know that we have a sense of urgency in our building, and I know the city has a sense of urgency as well with our team. So we got to go out there and put together a really good performance, which I'm really confident that we will. And I know we have the people in the building to do so. I'm super confident in that. Wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. But we got to go again, like kind of how I started this. We gotta go prove it. Like it's plain and simple. We got to go out there on Sunday and get the job done.